evening, BookTube. Welcome to my literary corner. And October is almost over. Halloween is going to be here in a few days. And that means November is a week away, and that also means that Nonfiction November is only a week away. I had tried to participate last year, failed at it because for two reasons. Well, there's the main one. The overall reason is I don't read nonfiction that much at all, actually. And except for the last couple of years, the last 2 years, I have been reading at least one nonfiction book. But more specifically, I struggle with reading nonfiction because I associate it with school and reading textbooks, topics that I'm not necessarily that I don't mind learning about, but I don't love learning about them. Like, I got so tired of hearing about World War II, and that's all we learned about. I mean, I like World War II, and I think it's important to talk about it, but it felt like it was considered, we learned about it a lot, and, I mean, I do believe it's because of the fact that it was a pretty big war. A pretty impactful war. But because we talked about so much that I got tired of it, I wanted to learn about, like, now that I'm done with school, I want to learn more about World War I and the American Revolution. I regret not learning more about that. Although we probably did talk about it. I just don't remember. And now that I'm not in school anymore, I can read nonfiction I'm actually excited to read about, that I'm passionate about. And I think that's the key. You gotta pick a nonfiction that you're interested in. And the other problem is, kind of has to do with also the whole textbook thing, which is that nonfiction can potentially be dry, especially because people are stating facts about a certain topic. Unless you really care about that topic, then it might seem tedious to you. And there are some topics that I'm mildly interested in, like I attempted to read the John Adams biography by David McCullough, but I'm not as interested in John Adams. So I did not have the desire to read it. It was my brother-in-law's book. So after some encouragement, a suggestion from my mom, I decided to finally give it back to him, and also I'm donating some books too. Finally made a decision, and one good thing is I was indecisive about it, so, and I had that book, that John Adams book, for a long time, so, and if I want to come back to it, I can always get it for Books A Million. I can get a paperback copy of it, so that it's my own copy. And then and who knows, I might come across it at the Gibbons bookstore. Although there's a very small chance that will happen. It will depend on if someone turns it in. But anyway, so this is something that All from Book Off, she's the host, she does this every year. And she came up with this nonfiction November because BookTube is mostly dominated by fiction. And yes, I love fiction. It's the only thing I read. So I decided to participate in it for the same reason she's doing it, because I want to have more nonfiction in my life. In her case, she wants to have more nonfiction in BookTube because she already reads nonfiction. So I picked 2 books to read, and there are 4 prompts in case you have trouble deciding which nonfiction book to read. And she does say that you don't, even if you're just reading one nonfiction book, then you're participating. You don't have to read like a book for every prompt. But if you never read nonfiction, just read one book. And if you read nonfiction, you already read one nonfiction book every year, then read more than one nonfiction. It's up to you. So the prompts she has this time, it's always one word prompt. She's design, sports, voice, and true. And she says that you can get creative with those prompts. You don't have to be literal or too specific with them. And I believe my two choices could, at least one of my choices can fit at least 3 of the prompts. So, the first choice is one that I attempted to read last year. I actually got it in 2017, I think, for Christmas. And so I attempted to read it last year because I had it for quite a while. But it did not go. And it's not that I'm definitely more interested in this person than I am in John Adams. It's a biography. But like I said, it's big, and there's the whole fear of so I'm not used to reading nonfiction. But I definitely think I prefer I like memoirs over biography because they are more personal and not necessarily as long. I mean, it depends on the person, the memoirist, the person who's writing the memoir. But actually, it's funny that the nonfiction kind of is connected to these in a way. And that is Neil Gabler's Walt Disney, A Triumph of the American Imagination. And you can see the bookmark is still in there from what I had already read of it, which is not a lot. Excuse me. And this is basically it's from his childhood to his, and his whole life, about his life as a human being and also as an artist. And I picked this one for the prompt of design. And you can also apply a voice too, but I'm focusing on design for this one because Walt Disney, most people when they think of design, they think of designing clothes or designing a room or designing a piece of architecture, like a building or something, but he designed his own world. He created a world and he designed characters. And then later, as the world grew and became more and more popular and successful, he also designed a theme park, which is its own universe in itself. It's like its own, it has its own freeway, and it has its own mall in a way, which is where I got these. It's not actually, I'm referring to Disney Springs, so it's not technically a mall, but it kind of is. So that's why I chose for the design prompt, because I feel like Disney himself is a designer. He designed a world, he designed characters, and then he designed the theme park. Okay, yeah, I think I am getting another cold because I have that, I can't, a thickness in the back of my throat. And then, this next book I chose, I'm using for the prompt of, it can also apply to design as well, but I'm applying it to the prompt of voice. And that is Broadway, the history of New York City in 13 miles. And this is about New York City and Broadway Street, to be more specific. And I picked this for voice because I feel like New York is a character in itself. It's its own voice. It has a voice. It has its own voice in a way. And also, you can go the more literal meaning, which is that you use your voice on the Broadway stage. Your voice is very important because you have to project, and half the performances on Broadway are musical performances, so you have to. Sometimes a lot of the time they involve singing, so you use your voice then. But like I said, I also am going with a more metaphorical approach as well, which is that New York City and Broadway has a voice in the world. It's its own character, its own community. And this also, like I said, it can also apply to design. Like New York is its own, the design of New York City, and I can't remember what the third one is. I think I said true is another prompt that's to be applied to. It's about the history of New York, the true history of New York City. Maybe that's reaching a little bit, but she said we could get creative. But I mean, really, I'm focusing on the voice prompt for this one. Although I guess it doesn't really matter. Because you can pick whatever you want to pick. This is just for TBR's sake, and if you're struggling with choosing. And I kind of like, using this as a prompt, like using the prompts because it helps regulate my TBR, so to speak. But like I said, since I don't read as a lot of nonfiction, I figure, like I said, I'm not gonna get ambitious. I'm going with these two books, and sorry, I got a frog in my throat. I'm gonna be so mad if I end up getting sick, or at least I hope it doesn't. It's just the cold, or that it doesn't last through Thanksgiving, because I want to be able to hug and kiss my nephews. So, and I don't want to get them sick. I don't want to get them or my sister and brother-in-law sick, or my sister's friends sick either. So hopefully, if I get sick, it will be during the first 2 weeks before they come. I don't want to get, and I hope it's just a cold, because I don't want to be put on quarantine again. That's what happened last year around November time. I got like gunk in my eyes. I was congested. I can't remember what else it had, but it was really bad and really disgusting, and I was forced to I had to stay in my room, and that was probably the only time my mom would let me have food up here in my room. And I drank a lot of tea, so I don't like tea as much anymore. Although I like the lavender was good. But, I'm gonna drink tea for a whole week. I'm not that big of a fan of tea. Which, it's funny because tea's sweet. And I'm sure a lot of people would be surprised that I love coffee so much, and that I would willingly drink a lot of coffee. But that doesn't make you feel better. This doesn't soothe your senses like tea does. But I like the flavor of coffee, and I put creamer in my coffee anyway, so it's not that bitter. And I don't get how, I know a lot of guys, I don't know, I'm sure women do this too, but I'm sure there are women who do this too, but I mostly see it with guys, that guys always get black coffee, and I'm like, how do you do that? Like, I'm taking a sip of coffee without the stuff in it, and it's like too bitter. But anyway, so that is my nonfiction November TBR. The Walt Disney biography, and New York, Broadway, History of New York, and 13 Miles. So if you guys have decided to participate in Nonfiction November, I would love to hear what you're reading for Nonfiction November. Olive does have a Nonfiction November group on Goodreads if you are interested, if you're so inclined to check it out. And if you like this video, be sure to give it a thumbs up and click subscribe if you liked watching my channel. And I hope, as always, you enjoyed your reading, and I will talk to you all later. Alright, bye!